The Gabby Petito case has captured the nation's attention, but now it's also shining a spotlight on domestic violence in America. Today we have Erin Prochnow with us from the YWCA here in Fargo. Thank you so much for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lisa.
We had talked, a couple weeks ago, a month ago, just about the numbers that you're seeing at the YWCA, and now, so just because we're talking about the Gabby Petito case doesn't mean just now in the last 2 weeks this has become an issue. Let's first talk about what you're seeing at your shelter.
Absolutely. All summer long and into this fall, we've been at or above capacity in our emergency shelter here in Fargo, which is the largest shelter serving women and children in North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. Collectively, as part of the YWCA, our national organization, which is made up by about 210 local associations across the country, collectively is the largest provider of domestic violence services in the United States.
If people are watching right now and they might be in a situation that is not good, what would you tell them if they're watching?
That there are people who believe them, that they are absolutely loved, that they're worth it, and that there are places that can help them. And we can safety plan ahead of time. If you want to give a call to us or our partner agencies across the state, you can give a call for assistance and that safety planning to plan a way to leave that situation if you're ready. We know that 1 in 4 women in this country are victims of domestic violence, and on average 3 women die in our country each day as a result of domestic violence.
It's heartbreaking numbers. They really are. We have also been talking, this case has put the spotlight on missing women as well, and we were talking in the break, missing Indigenous women. The numbers are really actually staggering.
They are. Some of the most recent information that's out there, and the data is a little sketchy. The Department of Justice back in 2016 had 5,700 cases across the country of missing, murdered, and Indigenous women in our country. Only about 180 of which were actually logged in their system. As an advocate for women, I recognize my white privilege and recognize that I am not a Native American woman, but the reality of how many disproportionate number to the local population, if you will. So about 27 to 30% of the women and children we serve at YWCA, either in our shelter programs or our housing programs, identify as Native American, where if you look at the demographic of North Dakota, it's just over 5% of our population overall that comprise of Native American as a demographic. And so we stand ready at YWCA to welcome all who need our assistance. And if you're out there and need help, or if you know someone that needs help, our encouragement to you is to tell them that you believe in them, that they matter, and that there are places that can be helpful. There are signs to look for once people start to withdraw. Sometimes you can see black and blue marks. Sometimes that withdrawal happens over time in that cycle of violence, when tension building happens, when there's an acute incident that takes place and then a calming period. Oftentimes people say, why don't people just leave? It's just not quite that easy. And that could be a whole segment of itself,
right,
that it's just, not quite that easy, because you're in a relationship with someone you love who's harmed you, and there's this makeup period, and then it just cycles over and over again. I'm here to say, you don't have to live like that. And if you know someone who's living like that, or you yourself are in that situation, we're ready to help at YWCA.
Why do you think the numbers are up?
I think there's a little pent-up demand. Admittedly, in 2020, people called for assistance to YWCA throughout last year, but we had a lot of folks that didn't arrive at our doors, but it indicated they needed help. And indicated that it was difficult to leave because their abusive partner was at home, whether they were home working, where they hadn't otherwise been working. So I think there was some pent-up demand. But on the average in 2020, local dispatch received 10 calls a day for domestic violence right here in our community. In this past July, there were over 400 calls just in that month alone, which was the highest July on record. We track those trends and pay attention to our trends as a result of that. And July was a very busy month at YWCA, unfortunately. I think the positive piece is that we live in a community who's just so caring and compassionate and wants to be helpful. And so know that help is there.
I like that you pointed out our numbers here, because I started with talking about Gabby Petito, but this is not an issue just somewhere else, and it's not a national headline, it's a local headline.
Absolutely. I think, instances like you're talking about gather that national attention and help people be reminded that this happens. But I'm here to let you know, in working in it every day, and our dedicated team of about 50 staff members and board of directors and volunteers like yourself, you come and volunteer for us too, Lisa. Those folks each and every day are ready to be helpful and do see the results of violence that happens right here in our community and is reported, on average 10 times a day right here.
Right here. We will get the information on our Facebook page. Reach out for help, whether it's the YWCA or anywhere else.
Absolutely. There's domestic violence providers across the state of North Dakota that stand ready to help you. And right here in the Red River Valley, YWCA can be that place. It's 701-232-3449.
Erin Prochnow, thank you for coming in today. An important conversation. We'll be right back here on North Dakota Today.